Tonight is November celebration in the fourth dimension. Tonight we have 4 celebrants with a combined 27 years of sobriety. First, Jeremy will present Bob with his 21-year medallion.
I'm Jeremy, I'm alcoholic. What kind of match, huh? I didn't really expect that. Congratulations to any of you guys picking up days, months. I don't know. I know when I'm coming in here that's like the longest point in time to me. And the cool thing is you stick around and months pile up and years pile up. And next thing you know, you're like Bob and you're legally sober. 21 years. And I don't know. It's just been an absolute pleasure to get to know Bob over the past few years, man. I wish I could say I spent time getting to know a whole lot more about him, man. There's things I do know, especially what 21 years of sobriety can do for somebody. You know what I mean? Bob got to, I know Bob got to sit by his ex-wife's bedside, right? And watch her take her last breath because of Alcoholics Anonymous and because of AA. No one suspected Bob. Bob's been married to the same woman the whole time. He's never been divorced. I said to him too, I was like, man, 21 years of sobriety, that's an absolute miracle. And he says, hell, that ain't nothing. My wife ain't killed me in 42. Which is so this guy, man, I get to watch Bob. I guess I get to see him on Fridays, and he just has this life that I absolutely envy. You know what I mean? I haven't seen him walk around and be miserable here. If he's judgmental, he keeps it between his ears and in his mouth, which is a lot more than I can say for myself. And I got to watch him really do what I think our big thing is with Alcoholics Anonymous, man. I watched this guy get to help some other guys and get to really live this really lovely life. You know what I mean? So it is. And I also know how much these medallions mean to you, how sentimental they are. So I brought your 20-year one with me that you left up here last year. Both of these.
I still got this one. Well, I know where the heck I was 21 years ago. I was in rehab, finally getting honest with myself and admitting I do have a problem. And I went through little suggestions, which are pretty much as far as something you should do. And what they told me, and like getting a home group, getting a sponsor, going through the 12 steps. You know, I'll admit going through the 12 steps is fairly easy, but like most of us alcoholics, we like to complicate things. And I was just like a 2-year-old. Why? And dang if I didn't learn why. As I can say right now, I enjoy it. Or like an old timer told me when I first started, gets gooder and gooder.
Congratulations. And now Chris will come and present Caleb with his 3-year medallion.
Hi everybody, my name is Chris, I'm an alcoholic. It is truly an honor to do this. So Caleb celebrated a year here, and then right after that I started sponsoring him, and he had a terrible year after that. He really did. And then, so we get into this new year. it's got to go up from here, man. And the guy's had a challenging year again. He really has. And the one thing that this thing has just shown me by watching and witnessing people walk through this stuff is that we can get through anything sober. And his walk has given me hope, right? And that is what this guy here, he stayed true to the primary purpose of helping other alcoholics through everything that happened this year. And it speaks volumes, right? He doesn't have to tell me what he's doing. I watch him. And it's an honor to, be in this guy's life and truly an honor to present. I got a medallion. We went to Akron, me, Thomas, and Caleb. So he saw me buying his medallion. I was buying it at Dr. Bob's house, right? So I got a medallion from Dr. Bob's house, but then also those medallions those chips and medallions we gave out, there's like a little history behind them, right? Not ours in specific, but the tradition across the country was started by this lady, Sister Ignatia, that worked with Dr. Bob in St. Thomas Hospital in Akron, right? And she would give these Sacred Heart medallions to somebody, maybe like a white chip today, and she'd say, bring this back if you're going to drink. Come back and see me, and you bring me that back if you're going to drink. So you bring this back if you're going to get strong.
My name's Caleb. I'm an alcoholic. There's a lot of misunderstood walking around here. And I had no idea that was happening. And I don't know, man. If you're new, if you're picking up, if you're just coming back, welcome. We're so glad you're here. 3 years ago, I was homeless. I was living in the woods. I was walking around aimlessly. I had burned every bridge with every family, every friend, and I was at a point where I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know what to do next. And I remember I prayed to something I didn't even believe in at the time. If you got anything for me, let me die here tonight in these woods, or let something change. And a week later, I was in a room of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I couldn't have told you at that time what was going to happen, or if I even really wanted to be here, or what was going to happen next. But I was at a place where I was finally willing to listen to somebody else. And I got involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got a good life out of it, man. I was in a halfway house for like a year. I got my own place, started business. All this good stuff started happening in my life, and I got my family here today. And the amends process has done something for me that it was one of the most powerful parts of my sobriety. And my sister's here from North Carolina. My other sister lives here, and she's not here just for me. I wish she was, but we were in Orlando all weekend anyways. I remember I drove to North Carolina and I made amends to her, and I did an amend in Virginia. But I remember I told her, and I was like, look, is there anything I left out, right? And she's starting to get teary-eyed, and I'm starting to get teary-eyed. And what she said was, you don't know how many nights I stayed up and I prayed for you, right? How many nights it just hurt, just the pain, like I didn't know what to do. They don't have to go through that anymore, right? Thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous, right? I got a badass little girl out there that I didn't have custody of when I got here. I have her full time today, right? I get to tuck her in. I get to take her to school. I have a schedule with my business that allows me to be a present and active father, right? I get to fight with her with 4th grade math homework that just drives me absolutely crazy. 2 months ago tomorrow, our brother passed away, right? Thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't have to pick up a drink, right? Thanks to Alcoholics Anonymous, I could go there and be a shoulder. I could be present. I could be a sober, productive member of society to my family, and I could be present in the here and the now. And that's not my go-to. I'm squirrely, I'm all over the place, and I drink. I'm an alcoholic, that's what I do. I get to go anywhere today a free man thanks to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thanks to you guys. And I am forever grateful for my sobriety. Thank you.
Congratulations to you. And now Nikki will come and present Trisha with her 2-year medallion.
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm an alcoholic. And much like a lot of people's stories, Trisha walked in here from a rehab or a detox because members of this home group went in and carried a message. And not everybody listens to that, you know, when they get out to come here, and she did. And she walked in those doors broken and miserable and desperate and willing. And over the last couple of years, it's been 3 years, right? Well, I know 2 today, but man, I've watched some valleys happen in this girl's life, and I've watched some amazing things happen in this girl's life. And I got to watch her drink, and it was funny. You know, sometimes we're funny when we get drunk. And she called me, though. She called me, you know, and what's awesome about friendships and sisters in Alcoholics Anonymous is for me to always be available, whether they're drinking or not. And the fact that we were able to bond enough to have a relationship that when things went south, she still called, you know, and today she's 2 years sober. And she gets to be a mother to her son, a present mother, you know, and I've been shown so many different times how many people don't get to be sober parents, you know, and to not take that for granted. And Trisha has been an up-close and personal representation of what can happen here. And our friends are the people that stay, you know, and I was taught that very early on. And I feel like Trisha today is a sister to me that I never thought I would have. And she's got a long history of being there for me, you know. And I love her very much, so happy 2 years.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I'm an alcoholic. You know, when you're like in the car and you're like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And I've thought about this since the last year. So she said what I wanted to say, and I was at daycare, and well, let me back up a second. So I'm laying on my bathroom floor, and there's been many years leading up to that moment where I was like, you know what, I could die right now, and I'd be happy with that. But I'm laying on my floor, I'm having the worst withdrawals I've ever had in my life, and all I can imagine is my son is going to wake up, he's going to walk into this bathroom, and I'm going to be passed away on the floor. And that happened to me when I was a kid. I found my dad when he passed away due to this thing. And that was enough for me to say, I'm ready to go get some help. So I checked myself in, and people of this home group came and carried the message. Drew was there, Mark was there, and they said, hey, come to this meeting. We're here every Friday night. They gave me a when and where, and I walked in, and it was in December. And I remember sitting by that cross on the floor because there was nowhere to sit, and I was terrified. And as soon as it was over, I was ready to run back and get in my car. And Drew snatched me up, and he was like, you need to come meet these people. And I'm so thankful for him and for doing that, because I probably wouldn't have reached out and actually said anything to anyone. But, you know, by the grace of God, I'm here, and I'm so thankful, because if I got what I deserved, it would not be standing here tonight. So I'm just very grateful for everyone in my life, and I'm so thankful for my sponsor, Jennifer. She knew exactly what I needed, and I'm somebody who needs tough love, and she's really, really good at that. And I really appreciate her because she doesn't let me tell half-truths. You know, I'll get on the phone with her and she'll say, spit it out. Just spit it out. And I just wanted to come across a certain way, and it's just, anyway, what I'm trying to say is thank you so much, and thank you everyone for helping me get here.
Congratulations, Trisha. And now Caleb will come and present Elias with his 1-year medallion.
My name's Caleb. I'm an alcoholic. You dress better than me, dude. I started sponsoring Elias probably a little over two years ago. I went into a treatment center. I was carrying a message, And I told him about this place. He didn't know about Fourth Dimension. I told him about Fourth Dimension. He's like, I live 5 minutes down the road, right? How cool is that? And he came to Fourth Dimension. We went through the steps fairly quickly, and he drank, right? And he was out for, 6 months or so. He was out. And I would call, I would try to check in on him. I just couldn't get a hold of him. And then he called me one day, and he's like, I need to meet you, right? I'm ready. I need to meet you. Can we meet? I was like, yeah, I'm going to this meeting. Meet me over there. And he pulled up, and he looked absolutely horrible. He looked so rough, but he said, man, I'm willing to do whatever it takes this time. And I think some people need that, really. I truly and honestly do. If you're not really willing and really ready and you're really convinced that you suffer from this deal, you need to go ahead and get it out, right? You need to experience what you need to experience to really grab a hold of this deal. And thank God Elias was able to do that. And we went through the steps, again, really quickly, really thoroughly. And what it was is he left a lot of stuff out on that fifth step, and he really got it all out this time, and it's been such an honor and a cool thing to watch. And he's had a rough year. He's had a year that guys like me and Elias, we don't stay sober over, right? But I've watched him navigate these things. I've watched him use the principles we learned in this thing. I've watched him help guys. Last week I pulled up and he's reading with 2 guys in his truck in the parking lot before the meeting. Like, that is some cool stuff to see. And it's an honor. It really is. And he, like Chris saying about me, he helps me see things in me that I need to work on every single day. Like, I get help. As much as I help sponsoring him, I probably get double that back by just sponsoring him. And it's an honor and a privilege. Congratulations, brother.
I want to leave this up here. Bring this down a little bit. My level. You didn't want to do that. Oh, I'm Elias. I'm an alcoholic. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Congratulations to anybody that picked up any time, any sort of coins or anything like that. You never have to drink again. As you guys see, Caleb is my sponsor, and before I picked Caleb as my sponsor, I had been to AA before, and I had heard things like, choose someone that you can relate to. And I've always felt pretty misunderstood. And I didn't think it was just a coincidence. And, Caleb likes to say, was that odd or is that God? And I guess that was God. No, but in all seriousness, when I came back to Alcoholics Anonymous about a year ago, I was defeated. I was absolutely beaten. I was absolutely bruised. I felt nothing, I was at the end of my rope. It was that or die. And I just remembered one thing, like I had never honestly given Alcoholics Anonymous all of me. I had never just fully surrendered and did all the suggestions. I did the convenient suggestions. I did enough for you to think that I was doing something. But I always kept certain things back, right? And I didn't want to work that 12th step. I didn't want to sponsor anyone. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. And I got loaded again. So when I came back, I figured that whatever I didn't want to do, it was probably time that I do those things first. That's the first thing that I got to, and I jumped in right into the areas where I was lacking. I called Caleb, and things have never been the same. And I've had a crazy year. It's been wild. There's been a lot of ups and downs. I've gotten loaded over a good day before. Like, yeah, it's a great day. Like, let's go do it. And I've had plenty of reasons or excuses to go get loaded, and I didn't. And that's nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with God. That has everything to do with the power of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because a guy like me, left to my own devices, I end up in jail. I end up in detox. I end up in the gutter somewhere. I end up somewhere you can't reach me for months and months and months at a time. But as a direct result of working these steps and working with others, I'm able to handle whatever life throws at me. Like Caleb said, I'm able to go anywhere a free man, and I don't have to worry about, am I going to drink or am I going to drug today? I can show up, I can be a brother, I can be a father, I can be a son, I can be whatever I need to be today because of God and Alcoholics Anonymous. And it truly is an honor, and I didn't do anything special. This really isn't about me. Like, this is just to show that this works. Like, if you're hopeless, if you're at the end of your rope, if you're miserable and you don't see a way out, congratulations, you're in the right place, because we got something for that. If you're feeling anything like I was feeling, we got something like that. Stick and stay, because it does work. If it can work for a guy like me, it can work for a guy. It can work for anyone. Am I supposed to introduce the speaker now? Yes. All right. Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't make you smart. We don't got nothing for that. You got to go to school or something. But I will introduce the speaker, and I'll keep it short, man. I see this guy when I first started coming in, man. He's one of those people bringing meetings into treatment centers and stuff. I see that how he is in the meeting and how he talks is how he carries himself outside of the meeting, man. I see him working with others. I see him doing this deal, and he's someone that I got a great deal of respect for. And with that, I will introduce Billy.
I'm Billy, I'm an alcoholic. All right. Who said he set it up for me? There we go. Nope, you stay. We're gonna roll with it now. All right, come on. After that generous introduction, Jeremy looks over at me, he goes, "Am I speaking tonight?" Yeah, I'm Billy, I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Elias, for asking me to speak. Congratulations to all you celebrants and for anybody picking up a coin tonight. And Tom, one day, baby, you're what we're here for, 100%. You're why we're here. You're why these guys got them down tonight. And that'll be enough making you uncomfortable. My sobriety date is January 6th of 2020. I don't know. I don't put a whole lot of stock in that. I don't know. I think it's been said before. I've heard it say like quality over quantity. And what that means to me is like, there's guys in this room right now that have a lot more time than me, who I respect and I look up to, and I want what they have. There's also a lot of guys in here with less time than me that I respect, I look up to, I admire, I want what they have, the way they move, the things they do in this deal, the people they're helping, I mean. And so, I don't know, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at with quality over quantity. What I think is more important is this kind of other stuff we talk about when we first get up here, right? I got a sponsor, I got one pretty quickly. Within my first week, he came up to me. If he didn't, maybe it would have been a few weeks, but he approached me, asked if I had a sponsor, I said no. He said, all right, I'll sponsor you, okay? And we went through this work quickly. We got through this work, I don't know, 5 weeks or so. I'm out there making those first few amends, you know? And as a result of that and that process, I have a connection to a power that allows me to now have something to give somebody else. And as a result of that, I have a few sponsees. I've been sponsoring guys since I was 6 months sober. Dozen or so right away, I don't know. Just didn't seem to, I don't know. I've learned today that none of us are powerful enough to get anybody loaded or sober. But there was a dozen or so right away that, I don't know. I would go to my sponsor and say, I don't know, I'm doing something wrong, man. And he's like, listen, you can't do nothing wrong here, you know? And chipping away at it. And today I got, 5 or 6 guys in here tonight that I sponsor. Some of them I've started sponsoring after they've come around for a while. Other guys I've had the privilege to get right from the beginning with. But, yeah, so anyways, I guess we'll get into it. So, I don't know, I started drinking when I was like 15 or 16, something like that. I hear some people talk about like they have this vivid memory of the first time they got low, or the spiritual experience, all that stuff. I don't know, I'm pretty sure that happened to me. All right, I just can't really remember, I have a pretty fuzzy memory on all of this stuff, but I do know that prior to taking that first drink, I was actively involved in sports. I had a pretty decent family life. I had some friends like in the neighborhood, but I always knew that there was something different about me. I felt a little off. I don't know, I've heard other people describe it as like I didn't fit in my own skin, uncomfortable in my own skin, or I just felt a part of and stuff like that. For me, the way I remember it, which take that for a grain of salt, the way I remember anything, but the way I remember it was that I would see, I'm a people watcher, so I'd be watching how everybody's moving in the world, people in my class, people in my neighborhood, even in my own family. And it just seemed to me that everybody was moving through life fairly seamlessly, that it just seemed easy for everybody. And for me, that was just not the case. It just seemed like a grind, man. Day to night, it was just a grind. I was just in my head all the time, in between my ears. My dad tells me a story about how whenever there was like a new family with kids in the neighborhood, I would send my little brother out to go make friends with them. And then he would bring them back. You know what I mean? And just stuff like that all the time. You know, I'm the middle child, so I have an older brother. He's 10 years older than me. He's my half-brother. We have the same mom. His father took his own life when he was, 5 or 6, and that created a whole set of challenges for him when he was growing up. But I looked up to him. He was the coolest dude. He had a car. He had, girls all around, and he partied and stuff. And then I had a younger brother who was just perfect. It's just the way I viewed him. He was just a golden child, blonde, bowl cut, right? And just, quiet and just like not a problem and everything. And to me, my perception was that I was just always the problem. There was always something wrong with me. As far back as I can remember, it's just every adult in my life was, they probably weren't saying this, but I remember thinking like they were just all asking, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Everybody's trying to figure out what's wrong with Billy, right? What's wrong with Billy? Doctors, teachers. My mom brought me to a psychologist when I was 5 years old. And this is after my dad had to quit his job and stay home with me. I mean, there was this, I was just I couldn't get right or whatever. But the psychologist tells my mom that it's going to take a few sessions to diagnose, we're going to figure this out or whatever. It's going to take a few sessions. 5 minutes, she comes walking out of the room. I'm hanging off the curtains up on the top of the thing, and I'm holding a full conversation, and I've got an alphabet of diagnosis, after 5 minutes. I don't know. I come to think now that a lot of that is untreated alcoholism, maybe. So that kind of puts me in here that, I don't know, I think this thing's genetic, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I had this from the first time I ever took a drink. I don't know. Who knows? But the first time I ever drank, like I said, I was involved in sports. I had all this stuff going on. I cared about it. I was actually pretty good. All right? I was a kid in like middle school playing for high school teams, like me and my brother. We were both pretty good. And after that first drink, I was 15 or 16. How that even happened was that there was this 2 girls. They were odd, and they were just kind of like the outcasts, and so was I. And in our class, and they came over, they lived in my neighborhood, they came over, and they had a bottle of something, I can't really recall perfectly, but they wanted to drink, so I'm like, of course, I'll drink. They also pierced my nipples and my eyebrow. With a safety pin. With a safety pin. And I left them in, right? And I did that thing when I got sober. My sponsor had a beard. I didn't have a beard. I had never even thought about growing a beard. My sponsor had a beard. There was a couple other guys that had a nice beard. I've been growing a beard ever since. I don't know what that means. But I call it the length of my sobriety. It's so stupid. I know. But yeah, all those things that I cared about. I cared about the sports. My dad coached us. He was the coach of all. I cared about it. I was a decent student. I got in a lot of trouble, but I was a decent student. I cared about all that stuff. And I heard a speaker say it once, and he goes, after that first drink, I had a new passion. I had a new passion, a new lease on life, a new thing I want to do and I'm going to do, And I couldn't have put words to that at the time, and I was young enough that I wasn't able to do it all the time whenever I wanted, but every time it was a chance to do it, really what happened was the idea of drinking took over all the other stuff that I had going on. I remember I wanted to be a professional basketball player, right? That was the big goal. My dad wrote this little magazine. He still writes it. It's a pretty big magazine, but he wrote this little magazine and he interviewed me. I had, and what do you want to be when you grow up? It's like a lawyer and an NBA player and all this stuff. And I don't know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all that kind of stuff that got into the criminal laws area. But played a lot of basketball in jail. But yeah, there was this shift that just happened to me at the time. I've heard it described as a spiritual experience or whatever, but this shift happened where all the stuff that mattered, it didn't matter as much. It wasn't right away. I still played the sports. I was still going to school kind of, and I was still Still had some friends in the neighborhood and things like that, but this quickly became paramount. And I don't know, for me, this is why I think that I have this thing from the first time I drank, is because the progression of this thing got a hold of me so quickly that before I turned 16, I was already in my first court order treatment center. You know, and then not a whole lot of time there to have all the consequences that usually will lead you to a place like that, but they happened to me quickly. Maybe I was just bad at it, I don't know. But I ended up in a place called Riverside Academy. I was 16, and this was like a 6-month deal. I was supposed to just go there for like 6 months. It says a court-ordered thing, so it's like jail. They called it a level 8. They only go to 10, you know what I'm saying? So level 8, and this was my first experience with any real consequences other than like just getting caught sneaking out and getting grounded and not listening and getting grounded again. And, you know, at one point my parents just took everything out of the room, left the mattress on the floor. That's it. That was it. And, but this was my first experience, and I didn't listen. I don't know, I'm like a sissy, I don't know, whatever. I was just crying in there all the time, just crying and crying and crying. I'd be calling home on my little phone call I get, just begging them to come get me. And we can't come get you. You're court ordered to be there. Like, and I'm just like, you gotta make it happen, you know. And something happened to me there, which was that it took me a little longer to graduate because I just couldn't follow rules. I have this authority problem. I got one of those diagnoses was oppositional defiance disorder. I don't know. We all got that. You know what I mean? But they put some letters on it. But I just couldn't follow directions. You know, you got to go to school. You just got to do your work, stay out of trouble. I just couldn't, and I would get these consequences, and I'd cry, and whatever. This thing got extended out to like 11 months. And when I came out of there, out of Riverside Academy, back to Palm Harbor High School, you know what I mean? I got a reputation on me now, you know? Now, here's the problem. The story of why I ended up in that place was dramatically different from what actually happened, you know? What actually happened was I was just peeing on something outside, essentially, and a police officer rolled up behind me, and I turned on him, and now I'm peeing on the police officer. Right? That's it. But there's a story that I come home with about me beating up cops and fighting in the streets and all this stuff, and let me tell you something. I rode with that for like 15 years, you know, like this is my identity now, you know? And because something happened there for me, and I couldn't have put words to it at the time, but like, it felt like I was fitting in. I was fitting in because of that reputation or whatever. After working this program, right, I could look back and realize that I was scared and I was unsure of myself, and I certainly felt different then. And apart from, I felt all that stuff, and this kind of gave me that. And so, yeah, I kind of got involved in a lifestyle that goes along with kind of like that, I don't know, criminal behavior, like kind of like whatever. And I don't know, I'll just fast forward through like a lot of insanity, a lot of chaos. I ended up graduating high school because of that treatment center I was in. I got straight A's. Just got to go. Just go and don't get kicked out of class. I got like straight A's, so I was able to graduate by the skin of my teeth. I got a little Bright Future scholarship to this St. Pete Junior College or whatever. Made it like a month or something, you know. It was just quick. The progression got on me quick. It was, again, I wanted to do it. Right? I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I wanted to do it. This was more important, you know? Getting loaded was more important. I couldn't say that at the time, but this was more important. And, I've learned that. Well, let me just say that. So that didn't last. I got kicked out of that. And then very quickly, I got involved. And listen, I got involved in a way of life that we don't generally talk about here in AA, right? But I'm just going to put 2 words to it, right? I was a drug dealer. Okay? Now, that's it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, about that, right? Because I respect this stuff. But there was, for the next 10 or 15 years, about 3 years prior to getting sober was when that kind of all slowed down. But for the next 10 or 15 years, this is what I did. And I'd have odd jobs, and I would get jobs. So what would happen, I'd get arrested, and I'd go put on probation, so you have to have a job to be on probation and not get violated. So I'd get restaurant jobs. I got kind of good at it, you know. I got kind of good at cooking in restaurants and stuff. But I would get these jobs, and then if I was on like a misdemeanor probation, I could complete it, you just mail the money in kind of thing. But every once in a while, I would get arrested with enough product that I'd end up on felony probation, right? And I can't complete felony probation. There's so many rules, right? I mean, you got to go to drug classes 4 times a week and take drug tests, and you got more money's involved and all kinds of stuff. So eventually I would just start saying, I would get into those rooms in the jail where you see your lawyer before you go into court, and before we even talk, I'm just like, how much time are they offering, right? Because we're doing time, you know what I mean? We're doing the time, you know? And because I couldn't have said it at the time, but the reality was that I knew it. I couldn't stay sober. I was getting loaded. The second I got out of there, I was getting loaded. It didn't matter all these little plans I put together. I put the plans together. I don't know if anybody of you guys can relate. But I would get arrested. I would go to jail. For about my 20s, I was in jail every year for something. Most of it was stupid. I was driving without a license like 1,000 times or whatever. But I would be in jail. I would physically get separated from this stuff, right? I would suffer. Anybody suffer in jail coming off of something, right? That's terrible, man. And I'd be like, I'm never doing that again. The wet concrete, I could just remember it's cold and I'm thirsty and everything's cold except for the water. There's no cold water in this place, and I'm just so thirsty. I just remember that. I remember taking 11 showers every day, just suffering, right? There's something about this warm shower that just helps. If you've been there, you know. And but the point is that I would not want that anymore. I would at the time it felt like I'd make a decision that I'm going to do something differently, and I'm going to put this plan together. I'm going to get this job. I'm going to get my license back. That was always a big plan that I could never accomplish. I only owed $300. I just couldn't pull it off, you know. I think there was something in my head that knew that I couldn't afford the insurance. Like, you know, what's the point? I'm not buying a car anytime soon, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I put all these plans together, right? And I'd come out of jail. And you know what's even crazier about this is my mom would take my calls. Now, my dad's getting sober around this time. My dad's getting sober right around the time that this thing's kicking off in me, right? And I was like 5 years sober when I realized, damn, that's probably tough for him. You know what I'm saying? That was probably tough for him. I had made amends to him and everything, never even considered that part of it. You know, I had to go back and kind of touch base about that. But yeah, so he's getting sober. He's doing this real hard line in the sand. We're not going to enable none of this using and drinking and all this stuff. And my mom would take the calls, and she would always put money on the books. My mom's a Sicilian woman, right? So she got to eat. You know? She's going to feed you. And so she'd always put money on my books for food. And I can remember this clear as day. And I didn't do this one time. I did this every time. Is I would call home. I would tell her my great plan. I would hear hope in her voice rise. I would hear her get excited, involved with the conversation. She would start offering how she could help and all this stuff. And I'm telling you that I meant it. I meant it. I meant what I was saying. I was going to do this. This was going to be different this time. And I don't know if you've ever come out of Land O'Lakes jail before, but there's just a nice long walk. If nobody's coming to get you, you're walking, and it's kind of like this. And I don't know if there's something about that long walk or something, but it's like somehow between that phone call coming out of jail and getting to that 7-Eleven at the end of the street, it's like I just forget or something. I don't know. Just something happens. And that same money that my mom put on the phone, that I have a few dollars left coming out of jail, and all those promises I just made, more importantly, that I meant, right? I wasn't blowing smoke. I thought I meant it. I thought I made a real decision. And I'm walking out of that 7-Eleven with a My Star Lemonade, and this is the craziest thing. It's like I didn't walk in there thinking I'm going to buy that. I don't know. My mom would ask me, why'd you do it? I don't know if anybody's parents or family or wives or girls say, why'd you do it again? And if you're like me, you have like a pocket of list of random, like quick fire, like, okay, this is why, this is why, this is why, this is why. It's not my fault, basically, right? It's not my fault. And, but I think the only real honest answer I have is I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't know why I keep doing it. Today I know I'm an alcoholic, you know what I'm saying? You know, but yeah, a bunch of that. And so this last time, and I'm gonna just kind of hurry up and get to what happened. This last time, so I used to rent rooms. I was like a career room renter, right? For all of my 20s and into my early 30s, I would rent rooms from people, or if I had a job, if not, I'd be couches and things like that. But I always had a room for rent. And my parents had this idea. They owned a home in Palm Harbor. They're ready to retire to the east coast of Florida. And they had this idea that I could move into their house and rent their rooms. And they built it all out. They put walls up in 5 bedrooms and Dan came there and everything, and we started renting these rooms out. My parents were on the East Coast, and I remember. So okay, I said it was gonna be 2 words, but this is funny. So Christmas time. So I was going to the doctor at the time to like, whatever, not be on harder stuff by taking this. And at Christmas time, we would put these Suboxones in everybody's stockings. You know? So that's who was living in the house. You know, and everybody got one, right? And so, and I remember that. I remember we invited this girl over. My roommate, we were going to party, and it was my roommate and his girlfriend and me. And I'm like, well, this isn't going to be very fun, you know, so we need to get some other people here, other women here. And so she invites a friend over, and we have a really good night. And so her and her mother and her 3-year-old daughter move in that same day. It was great. It was perfect. Her name was Jacqueline. Now here, this is the craziest thing, right? So this relationship, I have been in a lot of relationships, and I was a terrible boyfriend. Terrible person, not good. The levels to what I was willing to do, and just the insanity of my life was at a place here where this was the ugliest I had ever been. Physical abuse, financial abuse, mental abuse. I mean, it was bad, and I couldn't have told you at the time, but looking back, I know. And so she was on the top of my amends list, right? When we get to this, now me and my sponsor, because I'm in a new relationship, when I do these amends. And we're new, we're both getting sober together, and it's new, and he's like, we're not going to seek out any of your ex-girlfriends. And so I'm willing to do it. I put it on the back burner. 2 weeks ago, that girl is sitting in this room, and I run out of here. I was like, that was my first thing, is to get out of here. And my grand sponsor's in here, so I go and I talk to him. I'm like, what do? I'm like, I owe her amends. He goes, go make the amends. Like, it was like that simple, you know? It was like that simple, yeah. And so that was cool, man. And you know what she said to me? This is funny. I go to her, I said it like this, and I was so proud of myself. I said, my behavior in that relationship was nothing short of abusive on every level. And she said, I don't think about you at all. I was like that. I doubt it, but you know, like. But we get through it. Right, and at the end, she goes, "I'm starting to think that maybe I owe you an apology." And I was screaming in my mind, like, "Duh!" Like, you know. But it was kind of like, yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. It's up to you to decide that or whatever. You know? But that was just a little side thing that was cool. But anyway, so she moves in. This gets really nasty. I do some really dirty things. I end up in jail a lot. And at this time, now I have these no contact orders, so I can't go home. You know, I can't go back to the house or whatever. And this last time, I am coming out of that same Land O'Lakes jail. And I have nowhere to go, and I kind of wander into Tarpon Springs, and really no plan. I didn't really know what was going to happen, where I was going to go. But I did the same thing I always do. I started drinking immediately. But there was this guy I used to party with. His name was Marcos, and I remember hearing, somehow it just popped in my head that he got this little apartment over here in Tarpon. So I bang on his door. I haven't seen this guy in a couple of years. And he's like, Billy, come on in. He's cracking beers and stuff. I'm like, perfect. And he lets me stay there when he's there. Only when he's there, though. So I'm not allowed there when he's not there, right? So I have this couch to stay on sometimes if he's home on time. A lot of times I'm sleeping out front of his door waiting for him to come home. He doesn't even come home, stuff like that. But I have this couch for sometimes to sleep on. I get jobs really quick in the restaurant business, so I get this job on the sponge docks. And I got a bicycle, and I don't know. I'm doing pretty good. Like it just didn't seem like there was much wrong with that, you know. It was better than where I'd been in the recent past. And I get this, and then I upgrade to another job on the sponge docks called Rusty Bellies. You've heard of it, you already know. Best restaurant around. Little plug. Check us out. You know what I'm saying? But best restaurant out there, very busy. And I get a job there, and there's a girl working there. There's this girl working there. She's on the salad station. So the way the kitchen's set up, there's like a line with the salad and the cold stuff, and then the hot stuff. I'm on the hot stuff. She's on the cold stuff. And she needs some stuff from the hot stuff sometimes. So she has to get in the window and ask for it. And she would ask for it like this. So much I couldn't stand this chick. And so it's been like 8 years, right? And we live together today. And I'm really in no position to be in a relationship at the time. Come to find out, neither is she, you know what I'm saying? But she was coming over one night after work. I don't like her, she doesn't really like me. We butt heads a lot, but she's coming over to get something, or I'm getting something like that. And she pulls out a bottle of wine out of her purse, and I know what that means. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to stay. You know what I'm saying? And just like the last one, she never left. The difference is that I didn't have nothing this time. I had nothing, so I went with her. So I never left. You know what I'm saying? I never left, really. You know, she had a little apartment. She had a little yellow motorbike. What do you call those? Mopeds, whatever, those little things, 49cc. No insurance required, you know, like, and I'd get on the back of that thing, you know, we'd be, yeah, it was good. And but the reality is that we drank the same. We drank the same way, you know, we drank the same way, and it got ugly pretty quick, you know. She would, you know, when we blacked out, which was all the time, right? Like, always overshooting the mark, right? And she was a wine drinker, and she would drink a lot of wine out of the box, right? And I would drink a lot of Mike's Hard Lemonades, but I was still dabbling with other stuff. And she would get like sad and depressed and try to hurt herself and stuff. And I would get angry and violent. And so like the next morning, it would just be like a war zone. Like I had torn up all the house, the furniture, holes in the wall, and there's blood everywhere. She's cutting herself, and it was just a nightmare. And then we cleaned it all up, and we do the same thing that I always do in jail. We talk about how crazy this is, and we got to make these changes, and we're going to start managing, and we go to do that. We make a plan. We go to do that for a couple of days, and then the progression of this thing would hit, and you know, the allergy would get set off, and we wouldn't be able to really pull off what we planned to do. Decisions were made, couldn't really follow through, and ultimately, this is the beginning of the end. So she stops drinking. Some miracle, just stops drinking. I don't know, man. So now I'm pretending like I stopped drinking, you know, like, but I'm not stopped drinking, you know. And I remember this one time. So this is the big story about my last time going to jail. It's so stupid, but I always tell it. So she gets her tax return check, and she wants to buy a new couch, which I didn't agree with, right? At all. Like, we have a couch, it's not broken, we sit on it every day, it's fine, you know, like, but she wanted this new couch, so she orders it, we go to the store and pick it out, they deliver it, and it's supposed to be a sectional, right? What's a sectional, right? It's got a big piece, and then it's got a little piece, right? You need both. You need the little and the big. They drop off 2 little pieces. They got 2 little pieces. This little teenage delivery guy, 17, 18-year-old delivery guy, he drops them off, and I just lose it. I'm loaded, and I just lose it. And I just 2 little pieces. It's supposed to be a big little piece. And I know you did this, and then like I can't, you know. I'm chasing around the parking lot. He's hiding in his truck. I'm trying to break the window, and the cops come. Surprise, right? The cops come, and I remember this. The cop's like, I'm trying to explain to the cop what happened. Right? Like, this is what happened, right? This is what happened, right? And he's like, he kept telling me, shut up. Yeah, but I don't think you understand, you know? And finally, he's like, one more word, you're going to jail. And it was like, I just know if you understand, right? Like, I just know if I explain this the way so you understand it. And so, yeah, I go to jail, right? And and then I go to jail. So my mom, and so now my dad's been sober at this time, maybe 17, 18 years, something like that, you know. 24 now, so maybe 17, 18 years at the time. And my dad's like, I'm calling him, Dad, leave him in there. It's where he belongs, you know. And my mom and my wife get on the phone, and they make this little plan that they'll bond me out with my money. I remember saying that, it's my money. Just I do whatever I want with my money, right? But you need them to sign it, you know what I'm saying? And so they make me agree to go to sober living. You know, if they're gonna come get me, and so I agree, they do it, and I end up in Clearwater out in sober living. And I'll tell you something, I did not go there with any intention of getting sober. That was not the goal. And I didn't stay sober. You know what I'm saying? But I got in a routine where I would get on the Jolly Charlie every day. I'd head down to the Sponge Docks for work. And every morning before that, I would go to the 7 a.m. meeting at the Serenity Club, right? And I had one of those sponsors. Yeah, I had one of those sponsors, one of these fake sponsors that you just have to have at the halfway house. And 5-6 weeks go by, and these charges get dropped. And I remember this clear as day, is that I was kind of happy. I was kind of happy for like those 5 or 6 weeks. Like, kind of happier than I've been in a while. You know, my parents are calling, they're saying really good things, like, we're proud of you, and things like that, stuff I haven't heard in a while. I'm shaving every day, I'm eating every day. You know, I don't know, just things are pretty good, I don't know. But I'm getting off the bus, I'm at the bus stop, I'm getting off the bus, and I used to buy all my shopping at this gas station, and there's the guy that worked there, he opened his own spot right here, right in front of the bus stop in Tarpon, right where I was doing all my running around. And he comes walking out with 2 Mice Hard Lemonades, and to offer them to me, like, so I'd bring my business to him or whatever. And I remember thinking, like, I don't drink. Hey, I'm in a halfway house. If I don't live here, I don't live anywhere. You know, like, you know. And I remember thinking, like, things are pretty good. I'm happy. I'm thinking, like, I'm starting to think, like, maybe this recovery thing, this sobriety thing, maybe this is good for me. I don't know. And but what happened was, I like accepted them, and I was like, thank you, but I'll see you tomorrow. You know. And I put these Mice Hard Lemonades in my backpack. I get on the Jolly Charlie. I ride it all the way back to Clearwater. I get off the bus, get my bike off the bus, get on the bike, drive it back to the halfway house, go inside, jam everything I can into this backpack that I've accumulated over the last 6 weeks, leave the rest, and then just go home. And then we took a drink. They were still in my backpack, you know? And I don't know. There's that question, like, why'd you do it? I don't know. I don't know. You know, I learned a couple things in that moment. I think I was suffering from powerlessness. I didn't know. If it wasn't that day, it was going to be the next day. You know, I think that's what was going on. It was just like a matter of when. It wasn't like a matter of if. And I don't know. I had enough of you guys talking in those 6 weeks that it's like kind of ruined it. Like, it wasn't really great for that. For like 6 more weeks, I was kind of like in a hotel room just drinking. And it wasn't really good or anything. Like, I don't know. Nothing good was happening. It wasn't fun. There was nothing going on. And my brother was making his first attempt at sobriety over on the East Coast by where my dad lives. And I remember one morning, I woke up in this hotel room. The wife is done. And I call my brother. I have all the substances, right? Fridge full of Mice Hard Lemonades, everything I need. And I call my brother, and I'm like, I think I need your help, you know? And he puts this plan together to get me over to the East Coast, but I had this job that the restaurant's not even open anymore. I wanted the job. I kept the job. So I ended up calling the halfway house back that I was just at, and they set me up a bed here in Pasco County. Now, the guy told me, he's like, you gotta stay sober for 3 days so you can pass your tests and your breathalyzer and stuff when you get here. And I did. I don't know, call that what you want. On the 3rd day, my wife showed up and stayed the night with me, you know, because she knows, you know. You know, she knows that, you know, the stress that I'm going to make it for 3 days. So yeah, and I ended up at that halfway house, and on that same night, Monday night, January 6, 2020, group of guys, a bunch of them in this room tonight, group of guys came in there, carrying the message, 12-step work, right? Carrying the message. My sponsor was one of them. There was a few of them. There was like sponsor, this guy named Moose, and this guy named Chad, big beards. Big beards, they sit on, there wasn't enough chairs, so they were sitting on like the fireplace thing. And I don't know, something about those guys, you know, I don't know, something about those beards, I don't know. But these guys carried the message. Thomas was the first guy. He came, he approached me with his hands out, right? Sandals, clean shaven, smiling. Happy you're here, brother. I'm like, oh. I don't know, man, you know. I didn't say anything like that. I was probably like, oh, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. You know? But yeah, I remember halfway through that meeting, if you've ever been to that Monday night meeting, if you're a guy, because it's a men's meeting, but it goes in a circle, so everybody gets a shot. About halfway through, I was like, oh, shit, it's going to get to me. I have to say something, you know, and I don't remember what I said or anything, but I did introduce myself as an alcoholic. For the first time, I meant it. You know, that meant something, I think. And Like I said, that sponsor got a hold of me within that first week. And this second meeting I was ever here at 40, the second time I was ever here in this room. And I only came here because he was here. It was his home group. I just followed him. I just followed him everywhere. I was like a sad puppy. I just did everything he said. And I remember sitting in the back corner over there, and it was a regular meeting. So this person wasn't a home group member yet, but I remember hearing, and Kelsey for 5 years, and me and Kelsey know each other. You know, hadn't seen each other in like, I don't know, 10 years or something, but I knew her enough, and we kind of partied enough together that I knew. And when I saw her get up and get that chip, I don't know, man, something, I was like, no way, you know, like, wow, you know, and it kind of, I couldn't have put words at the time, but I think I got a little hope that night, you know, that maybe there's something here for me, you know. I call her my Ebby, you know. Yeah, and then a couple other things were happening at the same time, right? And I was getting busy in this work, and I was doing it, whatever, I guess to the best of my ability. I didn't understand it. I think that's really good for a guy like me. I really didn't understand what I was doing. I was hearing things like, just do it, you'll understand it later. Just do it, you'll understand it later. And get through a fifth step. It's not super powerful for me. Like, I already knew I was pretty much a scumbag, you know, and I had done all the, you know, I probably caused all my own problems. I was pretty aware of that. Saw some patterns of behavior, but prior to that fifth step, I'd come here to this home group of mine, you know, and I didn't fit in. That's how I felt. Didn't fit in. Looked like you guys knew each other forever. You know, I'm hearing stories about, you know, you guys are talking about stuff that I'm not a part of, you know, just all this stuff, right? And after that fifth step, that kind of changed a little bit. I'm not doing what you're doing, you know, and I'm starting to feel the jive here, and I'm stepping into the circles. And, oh, yeah, I did one of that, you know, and all that stuff. And 6 and 7 real quick, I get into 8 and 9, powerful stuff, man. I don't know. I've heard it described as the rocket fuel. You know, when we talk about being rocketed into the fourth dimension, I've heard it described as the rocket fuel. That was my experience. I got involved in 8 and 9, and for the first time, prior to this, for me, I could be wrong. I'm always wrong. But for me, up until 8, it just felt like I was doing a book report, kind of. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense. I was sitting with one other guy. We were reading, and he, you know, and if you know Josh at the time, he's stuttering through the whole thing, right? And, you know, it's uncomfortable. I can tell he's uncomfortable, so I'm very uncomfortable, right? And we're doing this, and I don't know, it just felt like a book report. Like, he's reading, he's letting me read sometimes when it's getting tough, and we're talking about it, and I'm laying my life over the top of what we're reading, and I'm lining it up. And he's sharing me his experience, and I'm lining that up. But I'm just saying, like, at the time, it just felt like, yeah, it was like a book report. I don't know, we're just reading a book and doing a book report. 8 and 9 was the first time I got out of my sponsor's lap, if you will, and I was out in the world doing my thing. I was doing this stuff not because I was being told to do it, but because I believed in what I was doing. It was crazy. It was crazy. I remember I was going to make an amends to this girl in Clearwater, my best friend growing up. I'm driving through Clearwater. I'm like, oh, yeah, I owe him an amends. I owe him an amends over there, and I owe a little amends store. And things got really good, right? And I'm going to wrap it up with this. Things got really good, and something happened. I don't know, 8, 9 months, 10 months in or something. I don't know. I was convinced that I had this thing, this alcoholism, this allergy, this obsession of the mind, this spiritual illness, right? I believed it. I was convinced of it. I had laid my experience over this book. I knew it. I was convinced. In fact, it's the fundamental fact of my life today. I'll drink again. That's why I'm here, because I know I'll drink again. And I was convinced of the service part of this thing, of the carrying the message, of helping others, of all this stuff. But I missed something along the way. And at around, 10, 11 months sober, I was thinking about drinking. And nobody would have known, because I wasn't talking about it. You catch me in a meeting or whatever, how you doing? Great. Happy to be sober. Super grateful. Thank you. You know, like, it was just like a robot, you know, bang, bang, bang. And, but my relationship wasn't well. We had done a lot of damage. We were trying to unpack this stuff. We were trying to get sober again. It was just a nightmare. We had done a lot of damage there. Work, I was just ungrateful. I was discontent. I was restless. I was irritable. I couldn't put words to any of that. And I was having these delusional things. Like, I'm just going to blow up my life by drinking, and then I can restart it, you know? And that was the big plan. And I don't know. We do this retreat every year in February, and we go in there, and I come out of that retreat, and for lack of time, I'm not going to get too far into it, but this guy does this powerful thing on 8 and 9, and he says, we made direct amends to all people we had harmed. He emphasized all. He says that all comes from the Greek root word that means all, or whatever. You know? Like, he said it like that or something. And it was like, oh, like, wow, so deep, man, you know? And I realized I made like 3 amends, because my sponsor said make 3 amends and we can move on. And we do 10, 11, and now raise your hand and sponsor people. And I realized I stopped right there. I stopped. I didn't do anything else. I never did anything else. And it was like, it just blew my mind. And I came out of there, and at the same time, this guy, his name's Tom, he tells me that he's asked a couple guys, and they all say no. So he's like, will you do it? And I took offense to that at first. And, you know, but at the exact same time, Tom's the guy that had some experience in this deal 20 years ago. So he knew a little bit about what we're doing here. And at the same time as going through the work with Tom, I was going back through the work. You get what I'm saying? I was going back through the work. He was almost sponsoring me. This guy's 20 years my senior. He has some experience with this. He's sober like 2 weeks, and he's almost sponsoring me. You know, it was crazy how that happened. And I got lit up again. You know, lit up for this deal. And changed my life, dude. Listen, Dan gets loaded again after that first attempt. I get to see him. He comes back on my couch. It's funny. He comes back. He stays on my couch. He asks me for help. So full circle, right? He asked me for help. And we get him into treatment, this and that. And when he comes out of treatment, I pick him up. Now, it's funny because the first thing he says to me, he's like, bro, you're not going to say nothing? You're not going to say nothing? He's like, flexing. He's like, I got big, right? I'm like, dude, you're so screwed, bro. You're so screwed, bro. You know? He's like, that's messed up, man. Can we go to Walmart, get some protein powder? You know, like, you know? I'm like, nah, man. We go to Subway, he gets a tuna sandwich on wheat, nothing else. Nothing else, you know? Which is like a workout thing, or whatever, I guess. I don't know. But what I did that day was I picked him up from that treatment center, and I brought him over to AA, and there's a long story about this where Drew's getting a couple shout-outs tonight, baby. Drew had like quit his job in this miraculous way without another job lined up, which I thought was crazy, right? And you know, which made him available. And then this guy from the dry docks asked me can you get some of them 4D guys to come speak over here? That's what he would say when he called me. So I knew Drew was not working. It's a 12 o'clock meeting on a Wednesday. Nobody's available at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday, right? But Drew is. So I booked him out like weeks before I ever know Dan's coming home from beach house, you know? And then Dan gives me a call. I'm getting out Wednesday at 9 a.m. or whatever. Pick him up. We get to Subway. I make fun of him a bunch on the way there. And then I drop him off over at AA. And I just give him the A, man. Give him the A. You know? And Dan asked Drew to sponsor that night. And cool, man. When I think about the miracles of this deal, right? The way Dan got loaded, the depths that this disease took this man, and to see where he is today, it is insane, you know. It's probably one of the best gifts I got, man, is to watch this thing happen for him. It's just so cool. Got married in here against everybody's advice, you know what I mean? Like, he's 3 kids, another one on the way. Started a business. I've seen him help a lot of guys, you know. It's kind of cool because he kind of followed in my footsteps. He ended up at the same halfway house I was in, and he ended up, halfway house manager, and then he ended up here at 4D, and it was kind of cool, man. It was kind of cool. And, my wife, she got sober 6 days after me, just stumbled into the dry dock shaking and stayed sober. I think that's a miracle. I needed it all. Halfway house, the structure of it all. I needed all that. And, I don't know, just wrap it up with this. Me and my dad, listen, there's families here tonight. I didn't think my family could be rebuilt. Okay, we did some damage, My mom will die younger because of us. I know that today. It's a part of the amends. We put some stress on that woman, man. There was 10 years. My mom gave me a chip last year. She said that she cried herself to sleep every day for a year. I don't know. That's gonna take some. But today, my dad, he hears that I'm speaking, and that he sends me a picture of I call her my granddaughter. She's my girlfriend's granddaughter, so kind of mine, right? And we're at Thanksgiving dinner, and she's sitting on my lap. My dad snaps a secret picture, and he sends it to me. He goes, "Just a small reminder of the surprise gifts of recovery before you speak tonight." He said, "I never thought I would use the word adorable to describe you." This picture is just simply adorable. Love, Dad. I'm just saying, man. I don't know if you want like a live picture of like what this shit can do. That's it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you're new in here and you're anything like me when you first get here and you're on the fence. I don't know, man. This sounds cool. I could tell. It's impossible not to see there's something going on here, but I'm not sure that I want it. I'm not sure if it's for me or whatever. I'm telling you, man, grab one of these guys here in a minute. There's going to be 50 hands that go up when they ask who's willing to be a sponsor. Grab one of these women, grab one of these guys, listen, and get into this work, and then decide, right? Decide. Get through this work, decide. I'm telling you. Everything good in my life, I can put a direct line to this work in this program. I don't know, man. I'm grateful. Thank you.
We have passed the basket in accordance with the 7th tradition. Also, a second basket went around for the ASL donations. You can pick up meeting sheets at the podium after the meeting. And let's give tonight's speakers a round of applause. If you are willing to become a sponsor, please raise your hand. Now, Ellen will come and read There's a Solution from page 25 out of the big book.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm an alcoholic. So there's a solution. There's a solution. Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confession of shortcomings, which the process requires for its successful consummation. But we saw that it really worked in others, and we had come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we had been living it. When, therefore, we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a 4th dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed.
Thank you, Ellen. And now Chris will come read the long form of Tradition 12 and close the meeting.
Hi, I'm Chris, alcoholic. Long form Tradition 12. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. For all that care to join, we close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory,